All right, so if you are a college or a high school student and you have recently gone through a breakup, whatever you do, don't delete the videos, don't delete the texts, don't delete the emails between you, don't delete any videos you may have, anything from that relationship, preserve it. The reason why I say that, if you are wrongly accused of any kind of sexual misconduct meaning sexual harassment, stalking, sexual assault, dating violence, that kind of thing, not having those files will put you at a grave disadvantage when it comes time to defend yourself, especially in a school disciplinary proceeding, which tends to have lower standards of evidence to prove you guilty of the alleged misconduct. And I'll primarily be talking about the school's process in these cases. Unfortunately, in these cases, it's not a case of whether you're a good person. It's not necessarily a case of whether you have good character, whether you believe you're innocent, all of that kind of stuff. Those things are not sufficient defenses. The outcome is not decided by who you are as a person, but by what can be proven during, about the alleged incidents specifically during the process. So I get why people delete, photos, videos, texts, etc. from their relationships. So, they broke up, and sometime afterward, they're scrolling through their phone, and they go through their photo gallery. They happen to see an image of, their ex. They're like, oh, I don't feel like thinking about my ex. So they delete the photo, and then, later on that day or whatever, they're like, why don't I just go ahead and delete all the photos? Just delete all of them, get them out of there, just tired of dealing with this person, ready to move on with my life, that kind of thing. And why not, right? Or they may get into a relationship with a new person. That new person may, one way or another, happen to see that you still have an image or a video or some stuff from your ex, and they may ask you to delete it as a token of good faith, or for whatever reason, when you're with a new person. Or it could be that you just get a new phone or a new computer. You haven't transferred all of your old files from the old device to the new device. Something happens to the old device. It gets broken. It gets lost. Whatever. You trade it in before you move all the old files over, and now you can't access the old files. So all of that can be very bad if you are later accused, because deleting all of that evidence effectively gives up. It makes you give up much of your influence over the investigative record. And also keep in mind that, you have someone, if you're accused, this accuser, either by effect or intent, they are now trying to wreck your life as you know it. So all sorts of things are now on the table if you have deleted evidence of that relationship. You may lack critical evidence to help you establish what you were doing, what your accuser was doing, what certain witnesses were doing that day. You may delete evidence of the intentions behind your actions. Like, for example, let's say you apologize, but you don't apologize for a specific incident or specific behaviors, but you apologize for someone's hurt feelings. And if you say, well, I remember sending a follow-up text saying, oh, no, I was actually apologizing for this person's hurt feelings, not for the incident, whatever. Well, unfortunately, now you don't have the ability to actually present that evidence in your defense. In addition, there's also the possibility, if you deleted all of your evidence, the accuser now has control over essentially the record. When it comes to the record of text messages, they can cherry pick those text messages. Let's say you sent 999 text messages that were good, loving, affectionate, supportive, uncoercive, all of those kinds of things. But you sent 2 to 3 text messages on your worst day that were particularly verbally, hurtful and things like that. The accuser could take those few texts, ignore all the rest, and then just submit those as evidence that the relationship in general was toxic. In a school disciplinary proceeding, keep in mind, they're not obligated to present the other 999 texts that make you look like a good guy. So just keep that in mind. Lastly, and another way that this can disadvantage you in these proceedings, Certainly, one of the most egregious forms is if your accuser or a witness decides to alter evidence. Perhaps delete certain text messages that give critical context. Or perhaps potentially add certain text messages that make you say things that you didn't actually say. Perhaps fabricate admissions of guilt, apologies, abusive or coercive language, and so forth. All of those things are now possibilities. So it's very important that you have your own text message history that you can pair up and say, hold on, that's not right, and effectively call them out on it. But of course, if you delete it all, that's not a possibility. Now, a lot of people assume, too often wrongly, that because they are good people and because they didn't do anything grievously wrong, or because their ex is a good person, you might have broken up on good terms. You decided that it just wasn't a fit. It just wasn't working out. There was no big bad breakup or anything like that. And so you assume that you're in the clear, right? Well, not necessarily. So first of all, everyone, if they're being honest, is guilty of doing something inappropriate in a relationship. Now, of course, not everything that is inappropriate rises to the level of a sexual misconduct violation per se. Most things don't, of course. But unfortunately, complainants, accusers in these cases, they are rarely a good judge of what violates school policy. Often, all they know is that they recall some part of their relationship. They recall it with pain, with regret, and so forth. And that's why a lot of these sexual harassment cases, in particular, are actually relationship issues cases that just don't rise to the level of a policy violation. And that's also why, a lot of the time, usually one or both of the parties can also benefit from some additional guidance or education on how to conduct healthy relationships, even if there's no finding that, sexual misconduct as defined by the school's policy has actually occurred. Another thing you need to keep in mind if you're thinking that you might not be accused because your ex is a good person, is that many, if not most, wrongful allegations, note that I said wrongful, not false allegations, are not knowingly false allegations per se. These accusations are brought by people who have, for one reason or another, simply come to believe something that is not true. What they then do is they then proceed to retroactively reinterpret a lot of past events to conform to their new belief. But problems arise when numerous past behaviors and events don't easily conform to their new belief, their new realization, whatever you want to call it. And that's why over time in a lot of these cases, the accusers are increasingly forced to confront all of these inconsistencies, all of these implausible behaviors that they have rationalized up until that point. And oftentimes it's not just them rationalizing it, it's their friends rationalizing it, it's their advisors, their counselors, sometimes activists, sometimes attorneys. All of that can essentially help to enable a complainant to ignore disconfirmatory evidence, exculpatory evidence, and think that their case is stronger than it really is. And that's also why these cases seem to start out strong, but then as time passes, so long as you have made a good defense and not made any big mistakes, the cases tend to fall apart over the course of the case. So just in closing, please, I beg you, don't, especially if you're a student, at a high school, college, university, etc., don't delete any photos, texts, videos, emails, etc., from your former or even current romantic relationships. You don't necessarily even have to keep them on your current device, right? If you want them off your current device, just move them into a cloud folder like OneDrive or Google Drive or something, and just let them sit there for hopefully forever, untouched forever. Just don't delete them, please. Now, separate from evidence regarding romantic relationships per se, my advice, this is just personal advice, this is not legal advice, but deleting evidence of your activities in general just may not be the best idea. You never know if one day you will be called to account for what you did on some specific day, months, years in the past, long after your memory of those days has faded. One of the benefits of living in an electronic age is that almost everything's documented in one form or another. So, so my advice, don't delete records that could show your activity, especially if you're the kind of guy that gets involved in sketchy sexual encounters, gets involved in a lot of situationships, stuff like that. Just don't do it, man. Just don't do it. Now, if you do happen to find yourself wrongly accused of sexual misconduct in a school disciplinary proceeding, you will need help. You'll need help sooner than you think. And there's 3 reasons for that. One is that the process is complicated. The process is sometimes unfair. And there was another one I forgot. But trust me, there's at least 3 main reasons. And the punishments can be severe. The punishments can truly be life-altering if you're found responsible. So hopefully you never need an advisor to help you with these cases. But if you do, feel free to email us or give us a call. There's free consultations available on our website. You can just plug a time right into a calendar and just book right onto an advisor's calendar. And we have a guide if you're wrongly accused. Feel free to read that as well. And consider our advisory service. And yeah, so that's it for this video. Thank you very much. Have a good one.